Here's the thing. 4 guys murdered my wife.
Don't you fucking touch her!
If I could find those men, I'd do it.
What if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? I call it STEM, a computer chip that has the potential to change everything. It's a new, better brain.
I am STEM, the system operating your body for you.
Can anybody else hear you?
No, only you. May I point something out? In the drone surveillance footage, Sir Brantner, Marine Corps, address 414 Citrus, New Ground. You'll need a plan.
I got this.
This doesn't seem like a well-thought-out plan. I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Aloha! This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii here on the island of Oahu, bringing you, yes you, the best movie reviews on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, once again, live once again here from Hawaii on the last Friday of May, May 31st. And I had just seen a movie called Upgrade. Now, this was a very interesting movie. One of the Neil Blomkamp films, or I'm sorry, Jason Neil Blomkamp. Well, one of the Blomkamp films. And I'm not a great fan of most of his movies, but I did like Happy Death Day. I do like that he's doing a sequel to Unbreakable. So I went ahead and I gave this one a shot. As a lover of sci-fi, remember our rating scale, shock a thumbs up. It's good to see, I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down. It's bad to see it's junk, I don't recommend it. And overall, for Upgrade, I'd have to say it is a shock a thumbs up. Especially if you are a fan of, you know, cyberpunk science fiction. Very similar to Blade Runner, both the original and this latest version that we got earlier this year. Now, this stars a bunch of newcomers I hadn't, really seen in anything before. Namely, Logan Marshall Green, Melanie Vallejo, Harrison Harris Gilbertson, and Benedict Hardy, along with Betty Gable, I think, is her name. She plays the police officer in this. Now, this is set in the near to distant future. No time, specifically given. But we do have automatic cars. AI is a thing that is nearly commonplace. Machines pretty much do most of the manual labor, that you could ask for. And thus, again, there is a large disparity of the population, the haves and the have-nots, those who have embraced the technology, those who are, the users, well, the creators of, said technology from Silicon Valley, and those who had used to do other things, mainly the manual labor. Now, this was written and directed by someone called Leigh Whannell. I'm not familiar with his work, but I can definitely see that this was heavily influenced. One of the movies that I named was Blade Runner, and this could come straight out of any of Philip K. Dick's novels or stories. And he is the one who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? and thus, which is what Blade Runner, the original movie, was based off of. And I find it interesting that Blomkamp, for being, you know, a less production value than this Blade Runner movie that had come out recently, was so much better in the fabrication of the story overall, and the mystery with this technology and how humans relate and use this technology, and essentially how the technology uses them as well. You know, all of which, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, Philip K. Dick had wrote these stories based all around this. This is very similar to a certain Outer Limits episode I had seen when they had rebooted the series back in the 80s and 90s. And again, like I say, if you had to mash it together and you weren't familiar with Blade Runner or Philip K. Dick, I would say, you know, think of RoboCop, the original show, because this is a hard R for violence, combined with Will Smith's I, Robot, and the plot, the technology, the use of that technology and the interactions, the fears of it, the resentments of it, and also the realization that you need it, you know, is all delved into in this movie. And you can see it from those other perspectives, the sprinkling throughout those other two movies per se. And that will give you a good firm foundation when you go see this movie. Basically, this is an action romp. Our star, Logan, Marshall Green, his wife, Melanie Vallejo, is killed in an apparent robbery, and he is left paralyzed. Fortunately, a benevolent technological genius and billionaire provides him with a surgery that gives him a specialized chip that is able to bridge the gap between his severed spinal cord and his brain by use of this chip, and thus he can walk again. But in addition to that, he essentially gains superhuman powers and abilities by use of this chip to basically control, you know, much like he would be a robot, his physical attributes, you know. So in a way, he has super strength, speed, agility, accuracy, and also, you know, the computerized memory as well. And he goes to hunt his wife's killers, and what we get is a very interesting play out of a mystery, in addition to your simple vendetta movie. You know, and again, like I say, if you're a fan of science fiction, of Blade Runner, then you will appreciate this type of movie with these types of scenarios on this, and find it very interesting how it all plays out like that. I would be interested in finding out if there is, you know, a sequel to this movie. Friday night at the, you know, I saw the last showing. The theater wasn't very filled up. It was maybe a quarter filled. You know, so maybe it'll get more bang for its buck over the entire weekend. You know, there are some other movies that are out, along with the standbys of Infinity War, Solo, and Deadpool 2. But I think overall, as we know, Blumhouse does keep the budget in check for all his movies. So, you know, if it only has a budget of $20 million, this movie will definitely make its money back and then some, quite easily, which I think it will, you know, as it has opened nationwide. You know, again, if you're not a fan of those types of harder science fiction, darker science fiction, like Blade Runner or RoboCop or even I, Robot, This brings back to mind, if you're an older person, I thought of the $6 Million Man, a cybernetic, enhanced human, saved by the government, to do various super-powered secret agency stuff. And as some of you may know, a sequel or a reboot of the $6 Million Man movie has been in the works with Mark Wahlberg for quite some time. They've been kicking around a script, trying to get it off the ground for at least 5 to 6 years already, and it continues to stumble. And I find it very interesting at a lower budget, and with Blumhouse at the helm, he pretty much undercuts all of that. And what we have could be, the $6 Million Man reboot movie right here. Of course, it takes a different tone, it takes a different avenue, and it's definitely not the same story of the $6 Million Man or the novel Cyborg, which that TV show was based off of. But it hits all the same beats. And it could be very easy for him to take control of that film and get it up off the ground, or even rework this into, something very similar to a $6 Million Man reboot. So just food for thought. If, somewhere down the line, Neil Blomkamp happens to watch this review and get some thoughts about, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, you heard it here first. He should take over and do the $6 Million Man movie and get it off the ground. Because for his lowered budget for Upgrade, he definitely still does a lot of effects that are pretty good. I mean, the action bits, the martial arts, the physical stunt work in this is good. There are a couple of glitchy sci-fi. Some of the computer stuff is really good. Some of the CG is good. It's when he does tries to intermingle it with drones and surveillance drones like that. Those type of things that we see very commonplace nowadays. It looks very fakey, very poorly done CGI. But when you get more down to the grounded things, even the automated cars, the robots in the home, the AI, all seem pretty well grounded and, are pretty much done with practical effects. Again, I just think because of the lower budget, he couldn't lift up higher to the better CGI that would have made those drones work. But fortunately, it's not an essential part of the movie. And you only see those flaws briefly, fortunately. And the rest of the movie stays well grounded, simple, straightforward, almost vendetta revenge movie, but with the flavor of this science fiction, makes it much funner of a movie to watch if you're into that genre. So again, Upgrade is overall a shock a thumbs up. Definitely check it out on a matinee if you have nothing better to do, or see it definitely when it's streaming on Netflix or iTunes. Check it out, and, keep in mind RoboCop, Blade Runner, and iRobot, and, you'll know what you're getting into when you watch it, and I think you'll be surprised thinking that it's pretty good. All right, thank you so much. This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, saying thank you and aloha.